discussion. We have been provided with background information on that. There are two ordinances here. We're going to be taking up 57.122.28 first, which is $150,000 for playground recreation equipment. We were provided with a listing. This is part of the Parks and Recreation in the city has a plan. This is the mayor's initiative to update our parks and provide ADA accessible equipment. Some of the equipment also was not quite as interesting as was in our parks. So the goal is, correct me if I'm wrong, to actually eventually get to all the playgrounds.
Eventually, yes, correct.
Equipment. And at this point, I believe 10 parks have been done, and the two that you have listed,
Madison Park Playground and Elizabeth Street Park Playground.
thank you very much.
I'm sorry, where the
So I apologize. I had asked for an email that I had sent out, that I had forwarded.
Would you like me to read off the list? I do. Yep. All right, so the status of previous playground projects listed below, all are complete. Hackett Park Playground, Swinburne Park Playground, Rosemont Park Playground, Woodlawn Park Playground, Lunello Park Playground. Playground benches was also installed at various locations. Playground equipment was complete. That was a previous one. Hoffman Park Playground equipment, Mount Hope Park Playground equipment, Van Rensselaer Park Playground equipment, Sheridan Park Playground equipment, Orange Street Park Playground equipment, Woodlawn Spinner Bowl, Spark Spinner Bowl, playground equipment for Buckingham Pond, Hoffman Park Playground installation and surfacing, Mount Hope Playground installation and surfacing, Orange Street Park Playground installation and surfacing, Sheridan Park Playground installation and surfacing, and Van Rensselaer Park Playground installation and surfacing. And all those projects are completed.
So this was in an email that I forwarded to all council members, I think last week.
Yeah, the 30th, if anybody wants to look it up.
So this $150,000 is for Madison Park Playground and Elizabeth Street Park Playground, and the policy has always been wherever playgrounds are being done, there is a collaboration with the council member who represents that particular area and input from the community, etc. That is also planned.
Yep, we have been doing events where we've been gathering information at the for Madison Park Playground, and Commissioner Jones has been doing work with the Elizabeth Street Park Playground, collecting information and working with Common Council members. The Madison Park Playground, we're looking at a $70,000 installation cost because the equipment is actually being donated by Compan. First time they've ever done that for any municipality in the nation or in the world, as they are an international company. And then the other $80,000 is for purchase and installation, but it also utilizes some funds that are left over to be able to make sure that it is done completely. So we're taking funds that were left over from previous bonding and applying them to make sure that, again, the job is done so that we don't have to request more funds.
Questions from committee members?
how are the parks chosen?
The parks, I do not have that information as far as how they were chosen, but I was informed that when I first came aboard, as I'm still within my first year, that they were picked at by need in the community, and that I'm not sure exactly the priority, the determination of how they were chosen, but that's how I was informed of them, of that.
Okay. One of the issues I have is one of the parks on the Wood Street Park. That equipment is really outdated as far as that's concerned, and some of the equipment there is broken, and this has been a concern of the previous councilman for 4 years, and also in my slides, there's a big burn mark.
Mhm.
Literally, the plastic is melting, so the kids can't even use the slide.
Okay.
And I've expressed that concern before, as well as Councilman Marmer, I was the previous councilman. And nothing has been done to update or replace that equipment yet.
Third Street Park, does that have another name, another designation?
Park.
What is it?
Livingston Park.
Livingston?
Livingston. And that park has not been updated in years.
I believe that one is on the list for 2020. I can double check and get back to you on that if you would like, because I do believe that one is on the list. Yeah.
When you say it hasn't been updated in years, prior to this initiation, I don't really think. Right, yeah. And to give you a little bit of background, about a year after I was elected, all the council members were asked for input with regard to different parts in their area. I only had the one that I'm on one of my ward that I was focused on, and I did do the survey, responded, etc., to what was needed, and actually got a community input, and then it was like another 2.5 years before anything was actually done. And I'm still kind of frustrated with some of the divots and other things. You know about this.
Yeah.
And the fact that there is an issue with handicap access to the handicap equipment, which I think should be universal once we install this. There's ramps that work, and then there's the matting, etc. But in some cases, getting to the ramps that go up into the playground equipment is impossible for somebody in a wheelchair or disabled, etc. I don't think it's a universal problem, but certainly a huge problem.
And something we're looking at addressing as well for making sure all parks are ADA compliant for not only in the park, but accessing the park as well.
Could you provide us, so I was looking at the 5-year plan,
Yep.
and there's another $100,000 anticipated each year for playground equipment through 2022. 2022 is $140,000. Could you give us what is the plan schedule? Because when we started this, we actually did get a schedule for it over the next 4 or 5 years. Some of that got a little off schedule for various reasons.
Yep.
For example, Lincoln Park was early on the schedule, but because of the issues with the pool, it was decided that we're not going to replace the playground equipment there until we have a plan for the pool specifically and a plan for the park. And I think that has happened a couple other places. I think down by the waterfront too, that has been an issue.
Yeah.
So if you could get us a
I-
complete schedule,
I can. Do you want me to? I can send that to you tomorrow or
Yeah.
this evening.
Tomorrow's fine.
Tomorrow's fine. Okay. Okay.
I'm not sending it on this
That is really
evening.
nice.
Yes. Other questions? All right, I'd like to. Go ahead.
This part, make a comment as it relates to speaking to the neighborhood association as well as this escalation of the playground equipment. Have you thought about scheduling, or would have to schedule it with you, or would it have to be with the commission?
We can schedule with me, and we can go from there. But at the same time, if again, either neighborhood associations or anybody wants to talk about the parks, we're kind of an open policy as far as being able to meet with them. So whether it be with myself or Commissioner or both of us together, one of us would be able to meet with a neighborhood association or any member of the community to be able to discuss the playground.
I do have a question, kind of a follow-up to what
Could you speak up? Speak up.
When you do have, like, for example, a broken slide, don't you have some contingency monies without redoing the whole park to replace a broken slide?
Some of the equipment is under warranty. Well, I mean, all the equipment is under a certain limited warranty by the manufacturer. For one case, we had a vandalism issue with one of the new tire swings that has a net in it at Hoffman Park. Somebody decided to cut the rope that was around it, and it came unraveled. So we sent it back, and they are sending us a new one, and they're looking at how they can apply it to the warranty, even though vandalism is not covered on the warranty. They're working with us to be able to see what parts of it, because it was a somewhat, it didn't stand the test of what we thought we would be receiving. We thought we'd be able to resist the kind of vandalism.
He's asking
Yep.
his question.
Yeah.
While we're waiting for
Yep.
parts to be redone,
That's
can
probably
you
not
do
a
something about the
warranty.
slot? It's not a warranty issue, it's about,
We do have a replacement equipment line in our budget that we can look at that in particular. So if the slide is gone beyond usage and it poses a risk or danger, we would mark it as needing to be removed. So Livingston Park, I'll have my operations manager and maybe myself go over tomorrow, and we'll look at that park in particular. I do remember being over there during the summertime, and I agree it does need to be updated. And that is, I believe it is on the schedule for 2020. But like I said, I'll make sure I get that to you, that information to you when it is, as well as the list of the parks to all of you.
all right, I want to move on to the other bond ordinances. Bond ordinance, which is 58.122.18, which is for $30,000, which is for a vehicle. Something 150 or something like that.
An F-150, yes.
It's a Ford F-150 crew cab.
So if you could tell us a little bit about, we do have the list of vehicles that the Parks and Rec has with the mileage on it, and the years on it, who's using it. And so this particular one is replacing a vehicle.
Rec 205 in particular.
There's
Our-
pictures in the email.
Which is noted as it's not being used because it's unreliable.
It poses a risk. It broke down in the intersection of 787 Hoffman Ave and McCarty. Myself and 4 other staff members had to move in the middle of rush hour traffic, the vehicle out of the intersection while traffic was flying by us. It poses a safety hazard for employees.
That vehicle is 16 years old.
Yep, and it's beat up, as the pictures indicate on that I sent in the email. One, it's not reliable. It breaks down at random times. That actually occurred right after we got it back from the shop. So it's continually breaking down. It costs more man hours to actually try and maintain it, and it is not getting the job done. Whereas with this vehicle, we would be able to make sure that our building maintenance worker would be able to go from site to site throughout the year, performing maintenance work, as well as make sure he can haul the appropriate equipment and supplies needed, as well as be versatile enough in the summer when we have seasonal workers that will be able to go with him to be able to go to various different parks and locations to do litter control and picking up and kind of triage work as far as maintenance is concerned.
So I want to know that I've been on the council now for 5 years, and one of the issues when I first started on the finance committee is this whole issue of us really bonding for things that really should be operational costs, or bonding for very small amounts. Here we have you, and we're taking up this amount of time, and there's going to be a separate account set up to purchase this, when it really should be something, and you guys every year have some equipment that is needed, vehicles and equipment that is needed, and there really should be something in your budget for these kind of vehicles to be purchased out of cash, operational funds, as opposed to us setting up a separate account. Once we set up a particular account, then those monies can only be used for a vehicle. And if you spend $29,000 on it or $27,000 on it instead of the $30,000, then we have $3,000 that we have borrowed or paying interest on for no reason. So just a little bit of education about where we're coming from on this. I think that I told Mr. Ellis last year that was the last year we were going to bond for any vehicles for under $50,000. $10,000. And here we are.
Mr. Ellis did not pass that information on to me, but going forward, if that is the practice that we want to adhere to,
Mr. Jones, and I understand that there's a whole issue that you guys got to get a purpose like that into your budget through the Department of Budget, but also the more we do cash, the less we're creating problems for our debt service.
understood.
Getting above that 10%. So actually putting it in bonding these days potentially puts it at more risk than if it is showing up in the regular budget in terms of, we're not supposed to be going over more than 10%.
Mhm.
Our budget is not supposed to be more than 10%. It's not supposed to be debt service. And we're right up against those limits and we'll be being past those limits for many years now. Unless we get our borrowing down to $10 to $13 million a year, and we're above that. Any other questions? Can we let this man go? Thank you very much for
All right,
being here.
thank you. I'll get these items to you tomorrow.
All right, fire department. Thank you for waiting.
Save us for last.
So, look, guys, I used to be like fumbling through all sorts of different stuff, fumbling through things. I now am color coordinated. Red is for fire department.
All right.
Green is for recreation.
Nice.
What? Well, I don't have a blue figure, so it's a purple.
Friends.
Roy and Mr. Riley, thank you very much for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
So they have two bond ordinances, 44.122.18, which is for $420,000, which is for command and support vehicles, and then they also have ordinance number 45.122.18, which is for the purchase of a rescue squad vehicle for $600,000. Last year, they were very helpful in providing a schedule of what is projected to be replaced, and that got changed a little bit, so I asked them to provide an updated listing. I want to say last year, it was actually last spring that we went through that. And so let's talk about the rescue squad, and I'm going to provide people with a little bit, or have you guys provide a little bit of background. It might be easier if I do it. But with regard to the rescue squad vehicle, this is replacing one. Which one is this replacing?
On page 3.
Oh, yeah. On page 3, the top of page 3 of our handout. So while I had passed along everything else that you guys had provided us with previously, provided me with previously, provided to all council members, right now I just had Michelle print out this one document for us, for anybody to refer to the other things, but I think that this is a kind of one-stop shop picture of where they're at.
Yes.
So, on page 3, we have the rescue squad vehicle that is 13 years old at this point, with 80,000 miles on it.
Correct. And 8,937 engine hours.
Which means something to some people.
It does. You want to describe engine hours?
It's just, it's the wear and tear on the apparatus as, from responding to and from calls. So, basically, in a nutshell.
I'm just thinking, last time anybody went into a car, dealership and shop for a used car, and said, what are the engine hours? As opposed to the mileage in the
I mean, one way to think of it, it's been on for a year and a half straight, if you think about it. If you divide that by 24 hours, that's about 400, 500 days that it's been on. And We actually, in Chief Abriel's plan, which was the 2018 plan, 2019 is Chief Gregory's, we were actually intending on purchasing a fire engine under Chief Abriel's plan. But because the rescue squad doesn't really have the number of reserves that we have for engines, and also the fact that the rescue squad's reserve is almost inoperable right now, the need to replace that has become paramount for the department. And that's why we're moving it up to this year for bonding.
So if I can just provide council members with a little bit of background, additional background. We had talked a little bit about this when we were here, when we were talking about the budget, so some of you may recall this. Last year, we actually approved an ordinance for the replacement of an engine,
Correct.
which
That would be on page one.
It's listed here on the first page as engine 9, and you notice that the replacement year is actually 2020 at this point. What you're going to do is order that. So what happened was we approved the bond, but then the treasurer's office and the Department of Budget was saying, what can you hold back on to reduce the amount of our bonding at this particular point in time. And so they agreed to hold back on that. So this is not showing up in the account currently because no bond is actually issued, but they have the authorization. So the goal here now is to use that authorization to pass a bond in 2092, to actually issue a bond, not pass a bond, issue a bond in 2019, and then they will wind up ordering it in 2019 and take delivery on it, hopefully early 2020.
Correct.
Correct.
Is the plan. So that's one issue that is pending out there. Another issue is the fact that if we look under the ladders, we issued a bond for, how much was it? We passed a bond for...
It was $1 million. The ordinance was 1.3 at the time, and the reason that we bonded for it in 2018 was there was a demo ladder that the chief was looking at getting. It was a slightly used truck. We only thought we were going to spend $1 million on it, and that actually fell through. Our plan with Treasury was we would do an early payment on constructing a new ladder truck if that was the case. Turns out they found another ladder from a volunteer company. It's a tiller rig, which they didn't have the manpower to operate. It was barely used, and we got it for $486,000. I was going to say $4. Good job, Chief. It was very exciting for us, yes. So it's basically brand new. It'll be in a few weeks, in service in a few weeks.
Correct,
Yep.
correct. We have it, it has been delivered to us, so
Yep.
that's what they
Yep.
told us.
That's what they said. That leaves, and actually thanks to Sue, we were able to close out a number of outstanding ladder bond ordinances from previous years to help also reduce the purchase orders on that ordinance. So we have a little over $600,000 remaining in that account, $647,000 remaining in that account that we are hoping to use to purchase an additional ladder truck that will serve as an active reserve.
So the reason why, so when I heard about this, and one of the reasons why I asked for the subsidy is to understand a little bit more why, okay, so you said you needed a ladder truck, and you haven't gotten a ladder truck. Now there's $647,000, when we have financial problems with the amount that we're borrowing. Is it appropriate for them to go out and just take that money and purchase a new ladder truck, essentially, when in the 2018 plan, the next replacement ladder truck is not for another 2 years? another day.
Tuesday.
So the purpose of that will be to, they have retired a reserve ladder 7, and so they want to have an additional backup because when the truck is down and needs to be a repair shop, sometimes for weeks,
It could very well be, yes.
then they, so they need some reserves. And so this would become, they're planning on using the $647,000 to purchase another reserve, essentially, with that funding. They have the authorization to pass the bond. We do have the ability to pass an ordinance reducing the amount of that authorization. And I just mentioned that, that is not what I'm advocating for at this particular point in time. But I think that, as we're looking for how we deal with being over our debt service limits next year, our projected debt service limits, that has got to be something that is at least on our radar as we weigh, how do we address the challenges of coming up with $3.4 million. I am hoping that our buildings budget and our bridges budget, we will be able to see some significant savings and not have to bond the full $1 million and the full $1.5 million for those. The Skyway is $1.5 million, and that has to be looked at in terms of when we're talking about priorities and needs for where we really need to be spending our money when we're dealing with these kinds of issues. But this is another large area where, as same for the police vehicles and squad cars, etc. So I've just provided you that with that kind of background. There's also the issue of the engine, which has not been purchased. And again, that is something that we authorized it on ordinance for that, and that is something that we could also look at. Again, none of that is my recommendation at this point. We're gathering the information, and hopefully I'm going to have kind of a laundry list for you guys to look at when we meet on the 23rd and get additional information in the meantime from Randy. Different options for dealing with the situation we're in.
Can I speak on that, Judy? For the engine, if you look, NFPA, which is sort of the national fire standards across the nation, recommend the useful life. So the entire lifespan of an engine or a truck is 15 years. So at the end of 15 years, it's really no longer useful. And so if you look at our engines, 5 of our 8 engines are either at that limit, past that limit, or fast approaching it. And the engine 7, which currently is a 2007, has the second most engine hours versus any of them. And the only thought I can have looking back on past budgets was that the city had potentially a great deal on them at that point, and they bought all of their engines in those 3 years. And probably a great deal at the time, but now we're paying the piper for it, and we have 5. That's 62% of our engines are now approaching the end of their useful life. And we were cooperative with the Treasurer's Office. We postponed bonding for this until this year, which we were under the impression that we were going to receive it then. So, I mean, the engine is absolutely critical this year. We have 2 more scheduled next year. We have to get, and I sent Judy our 15-year capital plan. I don't know if that was distributed. I can distribute it need be. We're trying to space out. Correct. Yeah, it was one with the X's, remember? It was. Yeah, it was on Tuesday.
He gave it to us the other day, so we're
Oh, that document with the X's.
Correct.
Yes.
Well, send that to me electronically?
I might have during our budget presentation, because that's been our plan.
I think I remember from the last time.
Yep. So basically,
So he's talking about a sheet that looks like this. Do you remember seeing a sheet like this?
With the,
And so, if you send that to us electronically, I'll be glad to make sure.
Definitely.
Michelle, especially, she'll make sure people get it.
and,
just ask a quick question.
Sure.
So, and I'm pretty sure I know the answer to this, but I feel compelled to ask it.
okay,
The rescue squad,
okay.
I'm assuming it's not the leftover money from ladder.
No, because the bond ordinance says ladder truck. Correct.
Right.
And we have to do that, right? Like, we can't just say fine.
The option is to, pass a new bond ordinance, reducing that bond ordinance.
And at the same time, just know that we have one currently functional reserve ladder that's 20 years old, so 5 years past the recommended useful life of ladder trucks. So you have truck one, which is coming on 13 years old now. So if a problem happens with that, you have a 20-year ladder going into service. If something happens to that one, you're looking at potentially having a company closed.
Well, one of the points that we always bring up is that any reserve apparatus, once it's placed into service, now becomes a frontline piece of apparatus that our members have to utilize. Safety is paramount for us, and it's also paramount for the community. So we don't want to see our apparatus responding to calls when it's something that's not fit for duty. And as these apparatus age out, it's just, again, as Nick stated, the average life that they talk about it, the lifespan of an apparatus is 15 years, but that's a broad spectrum. If you want to talk on that, where
So it's broad because it takes into account all fire departments. So it takes into account volunteer departments, rural departments, urban departments, not necessarily departments that respond the same way to ALS as we do. Our trucks are going to BLS calls, our engines, some of them are ALS engines that are going to ALS calls. They're not ambulances. You're sending fire trucks there. Advanced life support, so what the paramedics go to. So they're used in a higher capacity than the other trucks that are going to, and we're fine with 15 years. Our 15-year capital plan shows that we can do it with a 15-year plan, but it also does involve having an active reserve truck. And something that we had talked to Judy about was that we are going through and we're looking at which.
So if we have real ALS vehicles, we would extend the life of some of these ladders?
That's a tough question because you could, but then who's going to man them? So you need 4 ladders to be able to respond to fire calls in the city of Albany.
Yeah.
So I mean, you could. We currently do have additional rescue cars that could do that. We have 3 rescue vehicles: Rescue 1, Rescue 9, Rescue 2. If we wanted to have more, it's going to cost more manpower.
So like what percentage of ALS calls do you want to send out booking ladder to?
it varies. EMS response for our department is in. Yeah, EMS response is it's a very coordinated system. The way that the system works is, I'm sure you're well aware, is that our engine and ladder companies provide basic life support and backup advanced life support. That each unit is equipped with most of the equipment that is needed on an advanced life support unit. Our 3 independent paramedic units, and we have 1 paramedic engine company, Engine 10, up on Breveter Street, that respond to calls and perform. They basically bring the emergency department to your home. It's a standard that's out there now. Of course, you're going to know that. Of course, I'm going to promote it, but it's the best practice that we have. It's a national program that the fire department are proven the first responders. It is the best system that is out there. So, but in order to utilize all of our manpower, we send different pieces of apparatus on different types of calls, and we spread the calls because we're so busy. We run an average of 25,000 calls per year now.
Which is more, fun fact, it's more than Troy's and Schenectady's combined.
Yes.
Yeah, we found that out the the other month.
I've got a question on the ladder trucks. As you know, in the paper or looking around, we're putting up more and more multi-story. When I say multi, like 5- and 6-story buildings. Does that, you guys take into account, like, with the playground, it's going to be a 5- or 6-story building? I know they're trying to put the building by me on Western Avenue, 7 stories. Do we have enough ladder trucks moving into the future to support, like, if we had multiple fires, like we had that disaster last year, well, we had to bring in outside people?
Correct.
Do you take that into consideration when you ask us, that we need this equipment?
So, I mean, I would say that that's definitely support to our case. I don't think that it was, at least from my end, from the fiscal aspect, it wasn't a part of what I was thinking about. Although, with having a 5th active truck, it could be brought to that scene and then it could function as a 5th ladder. A point I want to bring up is that when we were talking to Judy, we were talking about how we could include this 5th ladder into our bonding cycle without actually raising debt service. And that's through the types of trucks, and now I'm regretting not having pictures, that we have purchased before. The bond ordinance was $1.3 million. It's for what's known as a tiller rig. It's the fire truck where you see the guy driving at the back of the truck. We're going to look through our neighborhoods and where our trucks are currently located and see if potentially we could have a couple of rear mount ladder trucks, which are your more straight line trucks, which are about $300,000 to $400,000 less expensive. Still staffed with the same number of people, still perform the same function. There's slight mobility differences between the two, so it depends on the narrow streets in which places you could have them. But the savings you would have on your debt service from that would allow you to get this 5th ladder truck at no additional debt service.
And to answer Mr.
He's basically saying, instead of spending $1.3 million for every single ladder truck, we may be able to spend
$800,000 to $900,000.
$800,000 to $900,000.
$400,000.
But
And when
they're
you're-
different ladder trucks.
They're
The
built
function
differently.
is the same. It's just a different construction of the vehicle. And with today's technology and the way that they construct these new vehicles, we're finding that they do have greater mobility. It's still in the testing stage for our city. So we still want to bring the apparatus in and drive it around our city to make sure that it can accommodate the streets.
Do you have a rear mount currently?
Yes, we do. For reserve.
But we got, not ladder, but.
The tower.
Oh, the tower ladder. We do have a tower ladder. We do have a tower ladder, which is it's a bucket truck that's went into Arbor Hill and in service in Arbor Hill.
In terms of cost, it's in between the two. It's around $1.1 million to build one of those.
How many stories up does your ladder truck reach?
Realistically, probably 6 to 7 when it's positioned properly. It's a 100-foot aerial ladder, but it's at an angle, so you'll have to calculate out the distance out. It's about 6 or 7 stories. Yes, yeah. And to Mr. Hoey's question, just to go on record, and do we have enough ladder trucks? No. Do we need another ladder truck? Absolutely. Out in the Pine Bush would be huge, But absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely, but that would entail more manpower, and that's a whole nother issue. But if you want to hear me talk about it, I'll be more than happy to come down and talk to you about fire safety.
So, the question that has been in the back of my mind and I didn't answer you, where do these reserve trucks go?
Where are they stored?
Where are they stored?
They're stored in individual firehouses. There's a reserve engine in Engine Company 11 on New Scotland Avenue. On Breveter Street, we have we sometimes store a reserve.
Is there 2 bays?
Yes, on New Scotland Avenue.
One of them is solely reserved.
Correct. One is an active engine company, and we have a foam unit back there. And then we also have a reserve engine. And then
So when it's in reserve, then does it get called out on an emergency call? Like, do you bring in?
no, the purpose of the reserve apparatus is, I guess, twofold. It can be used in the event of some major catastrophe, in the event of some catastrophic event, which we hope doesn't occur. we would be able to man that type of apparatus. We'd have to equip it with some we'd have to find equipment to bring to it, but, which we have in storage, but it's basically there for reserve. And because of the fact that we have such an aged fleet, the apparatus is in service quite often, so the reserves are coming in and out. And that's part of our plan with the reserve ladder, getting something that's up to date and be able to utilize the money that's been appropriated to us to get an engine or a ladder company that's more current. We can rotate through and do proper preventive maintenance on it rather than reactionary maintenance on it when they break down and they're out for weeks and weeks at a time. I mean, it's a big truck that has specialized parts that takes a long time to fix.
I mean, looking at engine 4 alone, that's 15 years old, 123,000 miles, 18,000 engine hours. That's in Council Member O'Brien's neighborhood. That's been out since December 3rd.
And the cost was to repair
The
it,
cost was more than I wanted. Yeah, $15,000.
$15,000 just to repair this time,
Yeah,
this particular time.
the work that
When are you taking delivery on that new one? When?
2020, and that's pending that it's approved.
Yeah. We're ready to put the bid spec out now.
Yep.
Is that the one we just authorized?
You approved the ordinance to replace engine 9 in 2018. We're going to use that to replace engine 4 instead of engine 9. And again, it's because you have 5 engines that are at the end of their life, some past the end of their life, and it's completely reactionary to the needs of the department. But we have 5 engines that need to be replaced. The 15-year capital plan's replacing it over time so that we don't have this issue where we're running into 5 being replaced all at once.
So another thing we talk about is how the engine numbers, the truck numbers will change. So they will look at a truck and say, okay, this vehicle is too old and has too many miles on it and is in an area where it has very high usage. So we can extend the life of that particular vehicle by moving it to a lower usage area and putting.
Well, if you don't mind, I could give you the example that we gave you the other day, where this apparatus that we just purchased, this ladder truck that we purchased from Elmont Fire Department down on Long Island, and that apparatus has 9,500 miles on it, give or take, or 6,500 miles. I'd have to double check the numbers. But we're going to place that piece of apparatus, once it gets lettered and equipped, that's going to go in service at Breveter Street. We're taking the ladder truck that's on Breveter Street, ladder 3, and switching that and making that ladder 4 and moving that to Delaware Avenue to try and maximize the mileage on that apparatus, because ladder 3 is running out the extension and it is probably one of our busiest, if not the busiest ladder company in our city. So we're trying to maximize, and this is all part of our plan.
Always point of the fifth ladder, too.
That we extend our the life of our apparatus by moving it around and trying to give good thought and vision to the future for our department.
A 5th ladder in the Pine Bush would also help reduce the runs that ladder would have to go up on
Absolutely.
Washington Ave as well.
Absolutely.
So, a 5th ladder in the Pine Bush doesn't require those structures.
I mean, it all depends on a number of factors, and I mean, again, that's a big decision. So I mean, that's hard for me to ask. But if
the reaction is, well, why not take the new ladder that you're talking about buying, and instead of having to be a reserve, have it be out there and then go, oh, stack. That's a consideration.
Well, from my point of view, I'm going to say yes, we need more staff. So, of course.
I'm gonna hold the microphone and whisper in his ear, saying that.
How many people does it take to staff a ladder?
A minimum of 3, which is, and that's a skeleton crew, each shift.
Yeah. So it's a
Correct.
minimum of 3, but typically they're staffed with 4. So there'll be 4 people on a
Four-
given platoon.
4 people would be assigned to it,
Correct.
and there would be a minimum of 3 staffing.
For every shift.
Correct.
Yep. So 16 for entire apparatus, and 12 is the minimum.
So, I have a question. When the life of the engine is up, how do you use it?
Well, right now,
Auction.
they're scrap because they're so beat. So we auction them off. That's the city plan, is to auction it off. I mean, there's no other way that we can sell the apparatus other than through auction. So if you go on, I think they just came off, but they're on Auctions International for the apparatus that's down at the repair shop that's in the back.
I have several folders of what our mechanic gave us, and they're going for under $5,000, these engines, when they're completely done.
Yeah.
There's no use.
There's
in
no
them.
useful light.
So they can't be used, you have to scrap them for parts, essentially. Yeah, the metal.
Yeah,
Now, you're at full capacity, right? So,
we will be.
Listed Park has cool playground equipment.
Stick a slide on
so you have full capacity, you're at the top level of your fire.
Staffing? After February 1st, we will be, yes.
Okay. And, you know, when we look at like the police pump, we know they have 40 or 50. So when I compare, looking at, we need that many police cars, and we're down that many, you know, I'm thinking that, but, you know, maybe I shouldn't judge one department against another. But you do have full, think you need good equipment for these men to be on.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's not just for the members. I mean, members' safety is paramount to us. But it's also, we want reliable equipment to when it shows up at a fire. I mean, we just purchased that tower ladder that's located in Arbor Hill. It went in service on a Friday, and Saturday morning it was out on Sheridan Avenue and then went to Quail Street and did a tremendous job. The members did a tremendous job placing the apparatus. They were taught well, they reacted appropriately, and they did a bang-up job. I mean, there was a tremendous loss of property there, but no lives were lost, and you know, we're very thankful for that. No members were hurt, but the apparatus served its purpose and was the envy of other departments around the area, believe me. So,
Other questions on this? We're going to move to sport and command vehicle information. I noted that last year, the five-year plan did not have anything this year for command and support vehicles. And now we have 8 of them, totaling 400, combined the two requests into one bond ordinance for $420,000 for 8 vehicles. And the goal is to purchase new, predominantly for command staff, and then their fairly recent vehicles would then be shifted down the line. And so they're being provided with information, essentially. So when you see the last 8 items here for the 2019 plan, which shows replacement in 2019, those are the vehicles that were essentially taken offline by this litigation aspect. So the least amount of miles on it, but gee, it doesn't have engine hours, so I don't know how I made this. 85,000 miles, and the one with the most is 192,000 miles.
Fire Investigation Unit.
And that's pretty impressive that that car's still on the road.
Most of our support vehicles were not purchased by the fire department. Just to give you a little background, there were 3 vehicles that were purchased in a prior administration for the fire department. There were 3 Dodge Durangos. The rest of our vehicles, the rest of our support vehicles were vehicles that were, for lack of a better term, junked by other departments in the city that we were able to procure and dump tons of money into them to get them running and hold us over so that we're able to provide these different services to whether it be fire investigation or fire prevention, to have folks get out to schools and promote fire safety, or to investigate fires, our support staff and our safety personnel to respond to fires, to make sure that our members are safe throughout. But they're riding in old police cars and old water department vehicles.
And
So-
the lifespan of a police car for the police department is 3 years. And so after that, we're having to dedicate our 3 mechanics, who are the only 3 in the city who have the certifications necessary to work with fire trucks, and we're devoting their time to repairing these 8 vehicles that are constantly breaking down. We're having tons of trouble with it, but we're dedicating their hours to that instead of having a preventative maintenance plan for our apparatus, which is our primary function for them.
Have you guys thought about getting like electric vehicles for like the non-emergency type of work? The maintenance is a lot less, gas, there is no gas.
We're absolutely open to
We're
that.
definitely open
We're
to it.
absolutely open to that.
We're actually doing studies of that now. Sorry.
When you say the question is very specific, have you considered it? And when you say you're open to it, it doesn't sound to me like you're actually.
We have
We're speaking, I guess speaking from the fire department, I mean, we're definitely open to it right now. I mean, I don't think we can consider it until we have electric charging stations at the fire department. There's a lot of these factors that involve other pegs of the city coming together and forming a more comprehensive
Do you
plan.
guys get electric charging stations at your stations is
Well,
not, but a lot of these vehicles you're parking on the street.
Well-
This is our first time asking for support vehicles. I mean, we typically just take what we can get from police too. So this is the first time asking. So
And
we guess we'd take.
Yeah, and it depends on the functionality of the vehicle. Personally, I don't think that we could use an electric vehicle as a primary response vehicle for any of these units, because it needs to be charged, it needs to be plugged in at certain points to maintain its operation. And we can't send a fire investigator or a safety officer to an emergency scene and then have the vehicle just be totally discharged. They may come into play in.
We need to research, read more about electric vehicles, because you're working off of, I think, assumptions.
Okay.
You know, and the other thing is, I have a hybrid that, I could always go down the highway without getting a ticket on it.
Well, we are.
There's as much pickup privately as any of your vehicles. And
And again, we are open to it. We talked about it, and it's something that we definitely have to do more research on. But our initial thought was for ancillary vehicles.
Do you know when the other departments use electric? I mean, this is the new thing coming. I thought we're going to invest this much money. And that's
Right.
being, kind of on the cutting edge.
Absolutely.
Not on the leading edge.
No.
I like that.
Could something like that be included in that 15-year capital plan that you have?
Definitely. And I guess it would give us more time to do our research, understand how we would do that, what we would do in terms of, because a lot of that is more on the chief than it is on the fiscal end of it. Is how is he going to
Integrate it in.
potentially do that in the event where they're idling at a scene where there's a fire going for hours and hours and hours? How are they going to make sure that that it's able to stay operable during that entire time? There's a lot of things on the operational end, I guess, that would need to be drawn out first.
so one of the things that I suggested to the police department is purchase a hybrid, purchase an electric vehicle, and try it out. And have that experience. I was a skeptic myself. I have a crossover Ford. It's a hybrid, and the level that it's no difference to me, except for I've been pleasantly surprised. It's 5 years old, and I just recently spent money on tires and routine maintenance. And this is after I drove over a deer literally hung over. I couldn't believe it. I mean, it did require repairs for that shock that total on it. But I'm just, my point being, potentially incredibly durable, reliable vehicles. I intend to drive mine in the environment.
Is there a cost breakdown for what you're hoping to purchase for the support vehicle?
Yes, and I had sent that in a separate thing. I can resend that. We went and we looked on the New York State's Office of General Services vehicle marketplace. We got different quotes from 3 different types of SUVs and trucks for all of those. So I can resend those to Judy or whoever.
And that, I mean, that might be something that, I go through so many different things, I don't remember, but that doesn't mean that.
It was in a 10-page PDF that I had sent you. It was kind of in the appendices of
The
it.
interesting thing is you have prices, generally it's $45,000 or $55,000.
Correct.
for
And
one of these vehicles.
yep.
But it actually doesn't say what you're replacing. Maybe I had to read these attachments.
Yes, so in the back, and I can resend it as needed. The best deal that we found were Chevy Tahoes, which were in the mid-30s on the vehicle marketplace for what their standard base rate is. And on top of that, there has to be lights and sirens and a radio built into the specifications. Chief, you can go on that more, but that's what brings it up to the $45,000, $50,000.
And they're not just vehicles that we'd go in to buy into just a regular dealer. They're classified as special support vehicles, SSVs, so which comes with additional wiring and additional lighting in it and power that's able to power the emergency lights, the radios, the siren that are equipped in the vehicles. So it's basically a police car. What you see the troopers driving around in is basically what we're.
So this actually doesn't list what the add-ons are. So 35,000, you're saying in some cases it's $20,000 of add-ons?
Probably.
So again, you heard me talk about $3.4 million. Is it possible that your estimate here is a little over? I'd rather not have money sitting in an account for vehicles that you then can't use because it's $15,000 left over.
I haven't seen that. If anything, the amounts from apparatus that I've seen left over were from the ladder trucks where they were the $1.3 million ordinances. There would be a small amount left over, which is what Sue was able to roll over into this current one. In terms of what's left over from buying the command staff vehicles, there was virtually nothing that we rolled into debt service. I believe under $2,000. But I also think I want to mention that when we were presenting our budget, we also said that we needed $180,000 to bond for turnout gear. And after talking with Judy, we were able to find room in our budget for $180,000 of turnout gear, and to try.
That did not come out of your budget.
Well, we moved it into our.
It was transferred from Social Security.
Yeah, but it's coming out of our budget. That's $180,000 that's moving out of whatever the cushion is that we have to cover things, and we're moving it now towards a cost that we're now working right now on spending.
I don't think that is. Do you have a set, you're saying that came out of your separate account for Social Security?
Not out of fire, but it's coming out of the budget. Whatever cushion that the budget has to cover moving these things out, at least in 2019, that's $180,000. There's a lot of. If you're talking about doing these things in rec, in fire, in police, and finding these things, it's going to be tougher and tougher. I think, and we talked about it on Tuesday of ideally it would be better not to bond for things, but you also have to cover the debt service for the 10 years of paying it off. So while you're potentially bonding for, or you're paying for a vehicle out of your operating budget, you're also paying for the debt service on the vehicles that you've bought 10 years ago, 9 years ago, 8 years ago.
Which adds to your cost because we're paying for interest additionally.
Yes. while you're making that transition. So if you can find ways to save money while you're doing that, which is what we proposed to do, because we mentioned that we're going to see a decline in disability retirement over the next 5 years, is what we said would make up for that difference in moving turnout gear over into the fire department's budget. So we use savings to move that over, but we now don't have the savings necessarily to keep on doing that for other things.
Other questions? All right. Any public comment on this?
And very well, Holding Park Union, we stand here in support of the two bonds before you, and we encourage all members of the Finance Committee to vote favorably out of committee, and of course, all the other members that are here to please vote favorably when it comes before the vote of the Common Council. Thank you very much.
Anything else?
Just, what was it? There were colleagues who have been visiting on these fire stations.
Just give us a call down at headquarters. One of us can talk to you and set it up for you, absolutely. We encourage your visitors. We encourage you all to come and visit us at headquarters. Come on down and see our operation. So.
Motion to adjourn? All in favor? Aye. Thank you very much. for
Thank you
being
very
here
much.
tonight.
Have a great night. Thanks.
Yeah. Thanks.